Welcome back, and in today's report, we're going to be talking about the Q4 of 2025 crypto markets, as we are now hearing from Sven Hendrick that over the past 4 months, in the second half of 2025, the first trading day of each month was the low for that month and has never been seen again. Will October be different or just repeat the program? Now, a lot of people are saying, Cryptoviser, you were wrong, crypto's back up. And I'm like, it's not past all-time record highs, although I've been saying on almost every single video that we could go much higher from where we are today. But the trend is your friend. Now, this specifically is talking about the S&P 500, but in today's video, we're going to break down what's happening in the general economy, what's happening in the crypto ecosystem, and also understand that the market is already sniffing out BS. I've been covering this for weeks now on the channel, that the market itself knows where crypto is headed and where crypto is trending. And you guys can see from the halving tracker right here, days since the Bitcoin halving, this bottom line right here, we are now at the historical top of the market based on the last cycle and the cycle before that. And so if you're playing with like, oh, well, you know, we're going to get it in November, we're going to get it in December, we're going to get it when the Federal Reserve starts, we're going to break everything down. But the trend is your friend. I want you to keep that in mind as we go through today's video. And don't forget to give this video an absolutely free thumbs up. Also, make sure you guys are subscribed. We upload every single day of the year to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. And we look at the macro environment. We zoom out and we look at where the trend is, where the markets are going, and what the sentiment is. So let's get right into today's video, the bull trap. Now, we covered this back in early September when the Federal Reserve kind of gave a speech, Jerome Powell at least, gave a speech about essentially what I consider the bull trap, because everybody is expecting these massive rate cuts that we are not seeing. That rate cuts are going to pump the prices of crypto. We're also not really seeing that either. We're seeing little pockets of pumps, but these pumps are getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And we have billionaires saying, oh, banana zone is just around the corner. You just got to wait a little bit longer. Meanwhile, they were saying the same thing last year. They were saying the same thing earlier in the year. They were saying the same thing 2 years ago. And we still have not seen this banana zone. Now, if you're holding for the long term, that's obviously, probably a smart idea just to hold in the longer term. But if you're trading the market and looking to pull profits so that we don't go into, or that you don't go into a bear market with all of your crypto without taking any profits, I think that this video is very important. And again, I post videos every single day. A lot of people don't watch the entire videos or don't watch every single video, and they just look at one video that says bear market and they're like, see, Cryptoviser, we're not in a bear market. It's like, what you're going to see in today's video is very, very clear data from the market that the market doesn't even believe it. And so if Wall Street doesn't believe it, why should I believe that we're going to continue to go higher and higher and higher and hit $500,000 or $1 million or $2 million this year? Let's get right into it. Now, everybody is anticipating what the Federal Reserve is going to be doing. Now, as I've explained, even if they cut 0.25%, I don't know that it's going to make that big of a difference. Even with the government shutdown and the delay of data, there's a lot of talk that the Federal Reserve is just going to continue to cut rates and probably accelerate the cutting of rates if the data, like the inflation numbers and the job numbers, are delayed. Now, I don't really understand this because the Federal Reserve literally tells us in every meeting that they make decisions based on the data that is incoming. So if the data is delayed, they're not just going to make a rash decision and say, you know what, they delayed the data because of the government shutdown, so we have to accelerate our rate cuts. No. They're going to say we're going to wait for the data, so we're not going to do anything. And this puts us into the next meeting at the end of October. Now, I want you guys to remember in 2021, and in 2017, where the bull markets were, right around November was the top of the market. And this could be the bull trap. The bull trap basically means that the bulls think, oh, well, we're going up. You see, the bull market's not over. And then boom, the rug gets pulled and everything drops. And then they keep buying the dips, but the dips keep dipping. And by the way, go look at the Bitcoin chart for the last 6 months. And I'm going to show you some other charts from the last 6 months. The trend is down. It's not up anymore. And there's a lot of people who can't see this, but we do. And this is what's going to make us more successful in the short and medium term in these markets than a lot of other people. And so if the Federal Reserve doesn't get the data because everything's getting delayed because of the government shutdown, in my view, they're going to wait. They're not going to say, oh, well, we don't have the data, so we have to accelerate our rate cuts. This makes absolutely no sense. And it's not even in line with what the Federal Reserve has said. Plus, we just heard that the Federal Reserve governor that Trump tried to fire, Lisa Cook, will keep her job at least until January. I think they're going to have hearings and arguments. This is a pretty funny picture that they chose to use here of Lisa Cook, but they're going to hear oral arguments in January. So this means that she's going to still be a voting member in October and in December, at least until January of 2026, which I don't even think they have the dates out yet for. Oh, they do, but we'll look at that at a later time. So that means, in my view, okay, and this is just my opinion, just like all of my videos are just my opinion. You guys can disagree. That's totally fine. But I feel like my analysis is pretty clear and concise. And so if the data is delayed, the Federal Reserve is going to delay moving forward with rate cuts until they get the data. Okay, so that means October 28, 29, there's a high likelihood that they're maybe going to cut by 0.25%, which is not going to do anything to the markets because it's not money printing and it's not a noticeable change. And by the way, to give you guys more context into that, what I have noticed over the past 2 weeks is home prices are coming down substantially. And not only home prices, rental prices as well. I looked at one market and I just scooted over a little bit to the next closest city, and I was like, there were thousands of apartments and homes for rent. And the home and rent prices were significantly lower. I'm seeing price cuts on homes, and I was under the impression that home prices are going to go up. All the real estate agents and all the real estate experts were saying as soon as the Federal Reserve cuts, rates are going to go up. But guys, the rates are not the problem. The prices are the problem. Obviously, rates have a piece to do with that. But just lowering rates by 0.25%, 0.5%, even 1%, it's not going to do that much when the homes are still overpriced, okay? And so that's this dynamic that we keep getting in. And people are falling for, oh, well, the rate cuts are going to change everything. No, it's not. And we've been saying that for a while. And so if the Federal Reserve doesn't get the data and then delays or just cuts by 0.25% in October, what do you think is going to happen to the market? Rug pull, okay? Because the trend is still lower, because that is not money printing. Money printing is when they pass a spending bill that's going to print trillions and trillions of dollars, which it sounds like this is what the government shutdown is all about. And that could put us into December, when there's going to be another meeting. And so if they don't cut in October, everybody who's been bullish in, from September to October, they got caught in the bull trap. And if the Federal Reserve says we're not going to cut, which is a high likelihood, especially if they don't have any data, look out below. But this is not it, okay? This is not it. By the way, we're also hearing the Trump crypto firm is planning expansion from tokenized commodities to debit cards. Why do you think this is? Because they don't make any money really in crypto because the trend is down. So they have to go to debit cards, spend. We're going to convert it to US dollars, and then that will be how you pay. This happens with a lot of different crypto companies and crypto exchanges that go into debit cards. You end up selling your crypto to use the debit card. And so that's selling pressure on the market. That is not bullish, that's bearish. But, the bulls are getting caught in the bull trap. And meanwhile, we just heard this. When I saw this, I was like, oh boy, I bet you nobody even caught this. And sure enough, nobody really did. Coinbase tops $1 billion in Bitcoin-backed on-chain loans via Morpho. And so what typically is an indicator of the top of the market? Over leverage. Over leverage. How do we know where over leverage is? Well, people are taking out loans. They're doubling down. I've been talking about this for weeks, if not months now, that the bulls, they're so bullish and are unable to see all of the data. Like literally, like people come on my channel as well and they're like, Cryptoviser, you're wrong. And I'm like, okay, where's your data? There's no data. They're just, they feel bullish, so they're bullish, right? And so that's fine if they feel bullish, but I don't feel bullish, right? When everybody else does. And this $1 billion in Bitcoin backed on chain loans, what do you think that they're using the loans for? Not to buy homes, not to buy cars. They're buying more crypto with it because they think the market's going to continue to go up. So you have a market full of leverage, full of debt, right? And we know this as well from the Bitcoin treasury companies that we're about to get into in a second. And this is what took down all of the crypto companies in the previous cycle. And so if you're bullish based on this, you're in the bull trap and you are going to not be able to get out of the bull trap. You're going to go into the red. You're going to go into the negative in your portfolio. 100% this is going to occur because we don't see $1 billion in Bitcoin backed loans in the bear market. We don't even see it in the early stages of the bull market. We see it at the end of the bull market. And that's where we're at. Meanwhile, the BitDigital CEO, that was a Bitcoin mining company, now they're an Ethereum treasury company, they're warning that secured debt could destroy treasury firms in a bear market, and their CEO is urging digital asset treasury companies to rethink their leverage. Well, Sam clearly watches the Cryptoviser right here, so make sure you guys watch every single day, so hit the subscribe button. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Give the video a free thumbs up. Like I said, we upload every single day to bring you the latest happening in the financial world completely for free. So BitDigital CEO said that digital asset treasury companies, we'll just say DATs, should consider using unsecured debt financing over secured debt financing to better prepare for potential bear market. He said the easiest way to buy more crypto per share is to finance it with debt. Well, he said shares stay constant while crypto holdings go up. However, there are important nuances. The wrong types of leverage can easily kill a company. He said when assets go down, which is Ethereum, the creditors are going to go after the company and the assets. Debt is amazing, but you've got to keep it unsecured. Basically, secured is like backing your debt with the crypto that you're buying. And that is a big issue. Now, BitDigital just announced an upsized $135 million convertible note offering. The senior unsecured notes will carry a 4% annual interest rate, paid semi-annually twice a year in arrears. And so they're raising money, but they're doing it a different way. But it seems to me that they're going to be raising money and maybe not just jumping straight into purchasing Ethereum. Maybe they will. But like I said at the beginning of this video, the market is sniffing out the BS. And let's get into that right now. Now, we just heard Metaplanet has bought more Bitcoin. They raised money recently, so they have a lot of cash on hand and they're buying more Bitcoin, right? At literal all-time record highs. And everybody's getting excited about this and wow. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, why are they buying it right now? Wait a little bit. There's no rush. They're literally doing what newbie investors do, which is just buy every dip. Don't even look at the data. Don't look at where we are in the cycle. Don't look at the halving tracker. Don't look at the macroeconomic situation. They're just buy. And meanwhile, look at this. Adam Livingston, who's a Bitcoin maxi and these digital asset treasury maximalists as well, it seems. He said Metaplanet 5x their Bitcoin stack, paid all of their debt in 120 days. That is insane execution, and they could have the cash to get to 6x. Zoom out, stay the course, touch grass, let time do the work. All right, let's zoom out on the Metaplanet chart. This is the year-to-date chart on Metaplanet. Now, this is the Japanese stock exchange, but it's basically the same thing in the OTC market, which is the US version of this. But we round-tripped. And so now, Metaplanet's stock price is basically the same that it was 6 months ago. And where was the top? Right where we called it. If you go back to my videos, youtube.com/thecryptoviser, click on the videos tab and just scroll back or type in top of the market. And you will see in June and July, we on this channel were calling the top of the market. And people still to this day are like, Cryptoviser, you're an idiot. We didn't hit the top of the market. The top of the market was hit after that. It's like, okay, but look at this chart and tell me that this stock is not in a bear market. Yeah, but Cryptoviser, they have 30,000 Bitcoin. Well, clearly the market doesn't give a shit. Like at all. Zero shits given. And it's not just this chart. It's not just the Metaplanet chart. Look at Nakamoto. Nakamoto, another one. May and June, top of the market, round tripped. We're basically lower price now that they own Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is at all-time record highs, than we were before they even started buying Bitcoin and they were just a medical pharmaceutical company. How does that work? And by the way, the CEO confirmed that investors who invested around this time that they made the switch to digital asset treasury company, once their shares got unlocked in September, the CEO confirmed that they were selling their shares. So even the insiders are calling BS to this, oh, well, we haven't hit the top of the market, Cryptoviser. Okay, so there's two stocks that I just showed you, sniffing out the BS. The BS for a bull trap, right? What do bulls make? Bullshit, right? So a bull trap is for bullshit. And they're falling for it, right? And meanwhile, ProCap, which is Anthony Pompliano's company, also lower than they were when they made the announcement that they were going to start buying Bitcoin. Tell me how this works. And by the way, ProCap bought the all-time record high, I think about $115,000 or $118,000. You can look at it on bitcointreasuries.net. Today I'm drinking water, not coffee, because if I was drinking coffee, this video would just be top has been hit, right? Because I would not have the energy to go through this all, because it's very exhausting when it's very clear that the market sees what the maximalist can't. Anyway, moving right along, because I have other examples that we're going to show you right now. Sequence, which is another Bitcoin treasury company, which also bought the top of the market about somewhere around $115,000. Round trip. We're lower than we were before they started buying Bitcoin. How does that work? Because the market is pricing in the bullshit, the bull trap. That's literally what the market is doing. And people are like, no, Cryptoviser, we're so bullish right now. We also have Strive, which just announced that they're going to purchase Semler Scientific, which is another Bitcoin treasury company, in an all-stock deal. And the price is lower than it was before the announcement. Now, people are going to say, but Cryptoviser, it's up 400% on the 6 month. Yeah, but they started making these announcements around May and June. When all the announcements were going on, that was the top of the market. Everything after that is just volatility. But where is the trend on these charts, right? Because maybe overall these companies are not going to go to zero, but where is the trend? The trend is lower Metaplanet. Trend is lower Nakamoto. The trend is lower ProCap. The trend is lower Sequence. The trend is lower Strive. The trend is also lower SharpLink. The Ethereum treasury companies is the same situation. And if you look here, pretty much almost no purchases besides Tom Lee's Bitmine in September. Bitmine is really the only company that's been buying Ethereum. Even SharpLink stopped buying. ETHZilla stopped buying. But when did they all make the announcements that they were going to start buying? In June and July. And if we were still in a bull market, right? Not retail bull market, not everyday and newbie investor bull market. I'm talking about like Wall Street bull market. And granted, in the ETFs, there is a little bit of more buying than we're seeing. But remember, Wall Street is not going to let this go into banana zone. They're just not going to let it happen. So where are we in the cycle? And by the way, MicroStrategy is the same situation. The trend is down, right? The trend is down. Look at the 1 year chart, down since June and July. So everything that we're seeing is just volatility. But the stock market is pricing in what crypto is going to do. And it's telling us where the market's going. Everybody's just focused on Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is not what tells me the health of the market. What tells me the health of the market is that all these companies are selling off because the early investors are they're sucking liquidity out. We're seeing all these IPOs because they're sucking liquidity out of the market. Even Trump crypto firm is moving to debit cards, which sucks liquidity out of the market. because we're at the end stages of the bull market. Now, we are seeing some positive moves in the data center situation with the Bitcoin mining companies pivoting to AI. That's another signal. They are not repeating what they did in 2021 because all the Bitcoin mining companies had major issues into the bear market. And a lot of them went bankrupt or had to restructure or both or worse, right? And so most of these Bitcoin treasury companies, Iris Energy, Marathon Digital, Riot Platforms, Bitfarms, they're all converting to data centers because AI is the next big thing. And none of them are even focused on, I mean, some of them still have Bitcoin mining operations, but we just heard from, like, for instance, Bitfarms. Their CEO, Ben, said just in September, we're no longer expanding our Bitcoin mining operations. We're going to use it for revenue, but it's going to be used for revenue to get our AI operations continued to go. So what does that tell me? They're going to be selling the Bitcoin that they're making, right, that they're mining, and putting it right into the data centers. And probably all the other Bitcoin mining companies are doing the same thing. They are telling you the cycle is over. If it wasn't over, they would be expanding their Bitcoin mining operations and not pivoting. But they're pivoting to be ahead of the trend. And that's the key point of this whole video. That's really the whole point of this video, is that we need, as investors, we need to be ahead of the trend. If everybody's saying, or retail is saying, but Cryptoviser, you were wrong. Okay, think what you want, do what you want in your portfolio. I mean, I even have people on the channel saying, Cryptoviser, just sell your crypto and move on. It's like, no, that's not what this channel is about. Number one, maybe I already did sell my crypto. Maybe I didn't. We don't even talk about my portfolio here anymore because it doesn't matter what I'm holding and what I'm not holding. My job is to analyze the markets and look for good opportunities to enter and good opportunities to exit. And it seems like retail is the signal again. They're saying, oh, Cryptoviser, I think somebody posted on my channel, when Bitcoin went from 110,000 to 117,000 during the beginning of this government shutdown, somebody said, Cryptoviser, you have egg on your face. And I'm like, we're still not at all-time record highs. How do I have egg on my face? And here's the deal. If you're exiting the market with profits, you win, period. But you can't exit the market with profits if the market is trending down, which it is. And so this is where rotations are happening. You can see it in the data. Go look. Okay, this is Rick Perry's data center REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust. Their shares are likely to open 31% above IPO on the NASDAQ, and they did. This is a new data center company, and it's being valued, it doesn't show it here, but I think it's going to be valued at around $12 billion. Okay, Iris Energy, IREN, is the only it's the only data center company that pivoted from Bitcoin mining that's over $10 billion right now. Marathon Digital's under $10 billion, Riot Platforms under $10 billion, Cypher Mining is under $10 billion, Bitfarms is under $10 billion. So we have a new IPO company that's opening above $10 billion. Iris Energy's above $10 billion. What do you think's happening with these other companies? They're all going higher because people are exiting crypto and they're moving into data centers and AI and energy because these stocks are going to do well when crypto is not doing well. Let's compare Cypher Mining to Bitcoin price. Okay, this is on the 6 month. Bitcoin is up 40%. Cypher Mining is up 411%. Let's add Iris Energy in there. Let's add Bitfarms in there. And let's add CleanSpark in there. You can see this is the 6 month chart. Everything is outperforming Bitcoin, everything. Let's add MicroStrategy as well, because you're going to see that strategy is on the 6 month chart. Strategy is underperforming everything. So this confirms what I'm telling you, that these Bitcoin and crypto treasury companies are way ahead of where the trend is. Because people will look at this and say, oh, no, Cryptoviser, it's just lower because, people are not there. They'll come up with every excuse possible. They'll say, well, I saw a worm outside, so that's why people are not buying strategy. It's like, what does one have to do with the other? Okay? It doesn't. And so the data is showing us, the trend is showing us People are exiting crypto. The crypto market is coming to an end. These early investors in these Bitcoin treasury companies are exiting. The Bitcoin mining companies that have been spending billions and countless resources to expand their Bitcoin mining operations, they stopped. And now they're pivoting to AI. I would imagine during the next bear market, they'll probably start pivoting to Bitcoin mining again and AI. But right now, the money is no longer in crypto. And we may still have volatility. We may still, we're seeing Aster pumping, Hype pumping, BNB pumping. But when the market movements don't follow the data, that is an indicator of over leverage, of over exuberance, of euphoria in the market. And that is the indicator of the end. And so where would I go? Bitcoin or data centers? You guys should be able to answer that. It's clearly data centers, right? We're also seeing that Bitmine Tom Lee calls Ethereum a discount to the future. We've been hearing this for years. I mean, honestly, guys, I told my viewers by the end of this bull cycle, I want to be out of crypto completely. And I'm on track for that. I'm definitely on track for that. I don't think that crypto is going to see the moves that we've seen historically ever again, because now Wall Street is in control. And I've explained this over and over and over. We're still going to have gains. We're still going to have massive moves because this is the future. But I've been hearing Ethereum is going to be the future of finance forever. And it's still barely integrated anywhere, right? I've been hearing, oh, everybody's going to own Bitcoin. And if you have 0.1 Bitcoin, your life is going to be changed forever. Still not really seeing that either, right? Because 0.1 Bitcoin is $10,000. Now, maybe in the future, it'll be worth a lot more. I totally agree with that. But it's not moving at the rates that we saw in previous cycles. And I have the data to prove it right here on the screen. Somebody will look at this chart and say, no, Cryptoviser, this cycle is different because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, whatever. If that's what you think, go for it. But it's not based on data. It's based on your feelings. And the market doesn't move based on feelings, right? Strategies, Financial Times did this story, MicroStrategy's incredible shrinking Bitcoin purchases. And this is true. Saylor is purchasing less and less and less, as are these other Bitcoin treasury companies. He's able to raise less, which tells us the liquidity is drying up. And the thing is, like, I kind of feel bad for Michael Saylor because people are like, oh my God, Michael Saylor on Joe Rogan will break the internet. It's like, what? Oh, he's going to say the same thing that he's been saying for years. Well, Bitcoin is the future. They're going to keep, and I agree with a lot of what he says, right? But I mean, how many times can an investor hear the same thing over and over and over, and there's no cash flow, there's no money being made, there's no taking profits off the table. It's just buy the top, buy the top, buy the top, buy the top, buy the top. And I in certain circumstances, that's bullish, but it's not bullish forever, right? Because we're going to go through cycles. This idea that Michael Saylor is telling people we're never going to have a bear market again is ridiculous. I mean, you could say that his stock is in a bear market or trending down into a bear market. We've had lower highs since 2024 when they started selling shares in the open market. And since, well, going back to the beginning of the video, June and July, we're down 25% since June and July, and Bitcoin is up. So is the trade Bitcoin or MicroStrategy? Because if you're buying MicroStrategy, you're losing. So who's buying MicroStrategy? The answer is nobody. How do we know this? Because in September, when they started selling more shares in the open market, and not just MicroStrategy, but their insiders, right? I think their chief financial officer made sales on September 18th, 10,000 shares, which is not that much compared to, how many shares they have. But look at what happened to the price. It went down 14%, $50 from $350 down to under $300 in just 1 week of selling. And that selling was to finance the dividends that they paid for their debt products. And this has to continue to happen every single month. And that's not even including Bitcoin purchases. That's just for the dividends. So, you know, I get it. People are bullish, but what are you really bullish about? Another indicator of where we are in the cycle is now backed is pumping, right? And if you guys have been watching my channel for a long time, like backed started in the last cycle, and it was basically started up by Intercontinental Exchange, which is basically the owner of the stock exchange, the New York Stock Exchange. And they were promising. I mean, look at these articles from 2021. Crypto exchange backed to go public via a $2.1 billion deal with a blank check firm. Well, nothing happened with that. This is also from 2021. Backed digital wallet app launches to help bring crypto to consumers. We were told you're going to be able to go into like Starbucks and scan the app and pay with the app and you're going to get points and free shit. None of that happened. None of it. Then we heard in 2024, Bakkt reported $780 million in revenue with $226 million in net losses. They're not making money. And so now they brought the guy, Mike Alfred, who is an advisor to some of these Bitcoin treasury and Bitcoin mining companies that pivoted to AI. He's an advisor to them. And since he was announced as advisor, look at the stock. It went from $8.50 all the way up to $35, a 300% increase. And then we had an announcement. Bakkt completes a sale of their loyalty business, accelerating transformation into a pure play digital asset infrastructure platform. And so, yeah, they're definitely changing their operations. But is it too late? Is it too late in the cycle to really be? I mean, we're seeing a lot of IPOs, right? Going to the Gemini IPO, Gemini Crypto Exchange, which I'm a big fan of Gemini. But look at their stock, right? Since they launched, it's down 26%. If you think about Coinbase, when they launched, their stock never recovered to their IPO price until this cycle, and it barely passed their IPO price. And they're not performing either. Their IPO price was like $350, something like that, and we just passed it, and it came right back down. I mean, it's still an $88 billion market cap. It's still pretty good. But these IPOs and these like money raises that we saw with like all these Bitcoin treasury companies, this is all liquidity suck from the market. And it works until it doesn't. And in my view, based on everything that we covered in today's video, based on what the Federal Reserve is going to do and all this anticipation, right? Going back to the housing market. All the real estate channels, all the real estate experts were saying, oh, if the Federal Reserve cuts, prices are going up, we're going to start selling homes. And maybe some people were waiting on the sideline for a little bit of a rate cut. But somebody like me, if I see one rate cut from the Fed, I know they're going to be more. So if the prices don't come down, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to buy that home. And I even see real estate experts saying, just wait, because the homes are going to come down. And by the way, the prices, like I said, are coming down. Rentals and the home prices and more homes are going on the market. But the rates got cut in September. So why didn't prices go up? That's what the real estate agent said. Just wait until the Federal Reserve cuts rates. Then everybody's going to be buying. They're going to be lining up out the door with multiple offers. That's not happening. So this is where I think that we are in the cycle, right? I'm not trading this market day to day. I'm not even trading it week to week. I'm zoomed out. When in doubt, zoom out. And when you zoom out on the chart, you see we are at the end stages of the crypto bull cycle. This doesn't mean there's not still money to be made. This doesn't mean that there's not going to be volatility. But people have been asking, when alt season, when meme coin season again? You already have it. It's called Aster and hyper liquidation. These are the indicators. The Bitcoin-backed loans of $1 billion on Coinbase, these are the indicators. The trend from the Bitcoin treasury companies trending down since the middle of the year when we called the top of the market. These are the indicators. And you can either take all of the data and all of the indicators and put them in your investment thesis, or you can say, but Cryptoviser, I don't feel like we're in the euphoria phase, so we cannot be at the top of the market. The Federal Reserve is going to cut rates. Even though cutting rates is not money printing. Quantitative easing is money printing. And although we're trending in that direction, we're not there yet. So pay attention. Let me know what you guys think down below. Are we in the bull trap, or is the Cryptoviser completely wrong? And this is a continuation of the bull market and the extended cycle, as the billionaires want you to think. Let me know if you're buying the dip. Let me know if you're buying the rip. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Give the video a free thumbs up. And I'll see you guys probably tomorrow right here on the Cryptoviser podcast. Invest responsibly, do your own research, and as I always say, crypto on.